Authentication, you gotta understand it. And ACI uses token-based authentication. All right, that was a little dramatic. Now in this latest video, I answer my recent ACI trivia question. I'll also show you exactly how token-based authentication works. So I posted an ACI trivia question on LinkedIn. So here it is, the scenario. You're using Postman to configure ACI. You log in using token-based authentication. 2 questions. By default, how long will the token last? Second question, where in the APIC GUI can you change the token timeout value? So when doing network automation with ACI, you first need to authenticate into the APIC's API, which uses token-based authentication. And in this API call right here, I'm authenticating into the APIC. But I go ahead and put my credentials in the body of the API call and send an HTTP post to the APIC's URL. All right, let's send our API call. Okay, authentication was successful, and we should get back a very special token. And if we look at Postman, notice this token has a very long ID, and this token is only temporary. So notice the token ID actually has a timeout value, which is 600 seconds, which is also 10 minutes. So the answer to the first question, by default, how long will a token last, is 10 minutes. So now that I have this token in my upcoming API calls, I no longer send my username and password to the APIC. Instead, I just send the token with the special ID to authenticate back into the APIC. So here I have a second API call to get a list of tenants. And if we look at the header of the second API call, we view the hidden part of the header. So in my upcoming API calls, that token ID will automatically get inserted into the API calls as a cookie header. Cut. And as long as I send my next API call within the 10-minute token timeout period, the API call will go through and will be successful. So let's send the API call. There we go. The API call is successful, and we get a list of tenants that are configured on the APIC. So now that we know how token-based authentication works, let's answer the second question. Where in the APIC GUI can you change the token timeout value? So all you do is go to the APIC, you go to admin, you select AAA, you then go to security, and then under management settings, notice there's a web token timeout value. So I'm going to increase the token timeout value to 900 seconds, which is 15 minutes. Let's submit it. All right, let's test things out. I'm going to submit another API call to authenticate back into the APIC. All right, we get a new token ID. And notice the refresh time. It's 900 seconds, which is, again, is 15 minutes. All right, so the trivia questions have been answered, and hopefully you better understand how token-based authentication works in ACI. And a special shout out to Karan Jasani. He was able to answer both trivia questions correctly. Now, you don't win anything, but you do get some cool, knowledgeable tech guy points. That's all I got. I hope this was useful. I appreciate you.